I watched over 50 booktuber favorites videos so that I could figure out what booktube's most loved fantasy romance was of 2024. Turns out I've read them all. Easily the most loved romantasy were Quicksilver, with 18 booktubers talking about it, The Kindred's Curse Saga with 19 people talking about it, and When the Moon Hatched with 17 people talking about it. 2 of those I loved, one of those I didn't. So then I went in search for the next top talked about. It turns out that I have read a lot of the popular romantasy, so this list was harder to get than I thought it would be. Out of the ones I've read, Powerless was on 7 lists, Metal Slinger was on 5 lists, House of Bane and Blood was on 5 lists, Bride was on 7 lists, Heartless Hunter was on 11 lists, One Dark Window was on 7 lists, but I'm still calling this BookTube's most talked about books because BookTube's secondary most talked about books feels kind of wrong, but we do have a few well-loved, well-discussed books on BookTube that I'm about to read for you guys in this video. We're gonna start the video off strong with the most talked about one, which is Phantasma, which was on 9 booktubers lists. It was on Peace Loves Books, Sarah Corelli, Rainy Blue Reads, Novel Life, Chelsea Chill, Just Allie, Amy Claire, Jamie Foxx, and Coffee and Tales. Phantasma was not a book I was actually planning on picking up. This book terrified me because I've heard it has a trope that I didn't love, and in my circles is not well loved. I was actually shocked to see this show up on so many people's booktuber favorites because in my like booktube friend circle, it was like liked but not like loved. But I am intrigued. I mean, I love to be in on the hype. That's why I'm doing a video like this. I love loving books that other people love and that everyone wants to talk and scream about. All I know really about Phantasma is that if you were a simp for Danny Phantom, you're gonna be a simp for Blackwell. And I was a simp for Danny Phantom. I know this follows a necromancer who enters into Phantasma, which is like a contest of trials that at the end you win something, and that there is a ghost haunting her, Blackwell. That's pretty much all I know about it, but I'm very much excited to try this and give you guys all of my thoughts. So here's book 1. I started Phantasma and I think I understand why it's on everyone's best of the year list. I was sleeping on this. The funny thing is, I wasn't gonna read this. If this didn't show up on so many people's best of the year list, I don't think I would have ever read this because people told me it had the amnesia trope in it and I hate the amnesia trope, and so I didn't think it was gonna work for me. However, so far at least, she doesn't have the amnesia trope, he does, and since we're not in his head, it doesn't bother me. Like, it's when our main character has amnesia because then I can't understand their actions, but since we're within her head, it's fine for me. But like, I love Blackwell. He has the perfect type of snark for me. All of his lines are working. I love a man just full of one-liners. I know it's not for everyone, but it's for me, definitely. Definitely for me. I actually really like the chemistry of them together. I think that when they're together and talking, I'm laughing and having a good time and wanting to continue their conversation. When something interrupts them, I'm always like, "Urgh." But I'm also really enjoying the plot. I like that we're trying to find her sister. A sibling story is always a buzzword for me, and I'm interested to see how that progresses within Phantasma itself. I like the setting, Phantasma being this like ghost, gothic mansion that is full of demons and magic, and like every door you open maybe getting you to a different place and not being like a linear place in the mansion. I really like you'd never know where you're gonna end up, all the tricks, the demons themselves I like learning about, and like the world building. I think that there's something interesting because it almost feels like the narrator's telling a story when she talks to us about like what her mother used to tell her like for bedtime stories. There's something about it that feels kind of storytelling because the narrator, like our main character, already knows all this stuff, so it could feel really weird that she's also repeating all these thoughts, but it just like makes sense. Like, just, I don't know, it's working for me. I like the OCD rep, like the fact that she compulsively has to tap things 3 times. Like, I think that is well done. I personally don't suffer from OCD, but my boyfriend definitely does, and he is very compulsive about things, and I think that it's being shown pretty well in here. I want to see how that affects her as the story goes on. I'm really, really engaged in the trials. I think that the 2 trials I've seen so far are a lot of fun. However, they're a little bit quick, and I wish that they would take more time. The maze one was far too quick, but I really did think the second trial was fun, but again, I thought it was quick. But I always like what happens after the trials. I think the world building is super cool, and I'm like very, very excited to continue reading. I feel like I'm just repeating myself, but I'm having a great time. Like, this could be a new favorite of mine. I'm having fun. I normally do a middle update, but when I tell you I couldn't stop reading this book, I couldn't stop reading this book. I'm finished, completed, easy 5 stars from me. This was so successful. Yes, if you're a simp for Danny Phantom, you're gonna gonna be a simp for Blackwell. Blackwell, oh my god, he has my heart. I loved him. The snark that he gave was so good. And like, just like his like lines, like the quotes he was saying, like I was highlighting so many things. There's so many lines that I just like absolutely loved in this story. I feel like the prose is underrated. It's a very simple prose, but it's so freaking beautiful. Listen to some of these quotes. In all the darkness and all the loneliness, you have been my one source of light. My soul will go to its grave with your name echoing in my mind. Beautiful. In a different life, in a fair one, I would have kept you until my eternal soul withered away to dust. Oh my god. You are the closest thing I will ever get to experiencing heaven, and I am not ready to let it go. I loved the lines in this. This is so beautifully written, and I was so addicted to the banter of these two characters and their chemistry and their vibes. Personally, I think the smut was really well done. I really enjoyed the smut scenes. I think the highlight of this book, past the romance, because like, yes, Blackwell, he is a book boyfriend for me, but past all of that, the highlight of this book was the trials. I love a trial setting, but I specifically love trials with stakes, and these had so much stakes. I love unique trials, and I feel like some of these are going to be sticking in my head for a very long time. Specifically, the true or false trial. I cannot imagine being those characters in that trial, especially the one guy who had to hit random, and that could have been her. That could have been our main character. The terror you would feel. I would be peeing my pants for sure. So the fact that they all held it together, props to them. I will be thinking about that trial. I really liked the the one with the dropping things that were knives. That was really good. The lava cage. These were such good trials in my opinion, and I loved that they were based on like the seven sins and like the layers of hell. I really loved the magic, the lore, the setting. Like this book had so many benefits to me. I will say my main complaint is that the trials were a little bit quick, and I can understand that some people would call this insta-lovey, but I think it really made sense for their characters, and I got it. I was there with them, even though like maybe it's insta-lovey, but she's been so sheltered that having this person that made her feel these things, you would instantly gravitate towards them, and then we learn why he gravitates towards her and like all of these things, and I just thought it was really, really well rounded. I loved this so much, and I love that it's kind of a standalone. Like you could read this and never continue. I probably will continue because I loved the writing so much, but you definitely wouldn't need to. So yeah, this was a big win, and I was sleeping on it because I would not have read it without it being on so many booktubers lists, because like I was scared I was gonna hate it. I think a lot of people said I was gonna hate it because of the amnesia trope, but like it did not bother me at all. I don't actually think it fits into the amnesia trope because it's not our main character. We have very set rules about what he can and can't remember pretty early on, and they're not really broken in my opinion, and like we understood all of his motivations the entire time. That was not something that changed because his memory was gone from like a couple decades ago, or like he couldn't remember outside of the competition. So like I thought this was so well crafted, and if you're looking for a fun, bantery, trial competition filled story, please pick Phantasma up. This was such an easy 5-star for me. I loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. Like I can't stop thinking about it. I'm like, do I reread it like right now? Right now I could start it again. Like I'm thinking about Mr. Blackwell forever. Also, I loved our main character. She was smart and she had so much sass. Like I loved her sass, but she wasn't dumb at all. I felt like she was always making very well thought out choices, and I really enjoyed it. And the OCD rep, this book was so good. Like 6 stars to this book. I'm gonna need more people to read it right now because me and Nikki were buddy reading it, and I finished the book and Nikki's still reading, but she's also loving it, and it was incredible. Oh my god. Okay, we can move on because I have started our next book, and it's Reign of Shadow and Endings by Melissa K. Rowick. The first time I ever heard about this book was from Claire's Neverland of Books after she loved the Lady of Darkness series. I personally didn't love Lady of Darkness, but I'm very excited to give this one a shot, especially because it was on 5 booktubers lists. So I was on Honest Fiction, Claire's Neverland of Books, Mariana Reads, Jamie Johnson, and Raven-Haired Reader. And I don't know about you, but that list of 5 people is pretty much who I go to for a lot of my recommendations. When I want to read a fantasy romance, these are people that I will check in to see if they've read it and loved it because they give such good reviews, and I really have similar taste to them. I'm on, I want to say chapter 6, so I'm about 70 pages into this, and so far I'm very much intrigued. I was not expecting this to be as modern as it was. Like they got in a car and they had cell phones, and I was a little bit like, oh, but it is well explained, and I did enjoy the setting regardless. But so far I'm enjoying the characters. I like how spunky our main character is, and I like the vibe of the male character. I know that this is going to be a little bit darker than a lot of books. I'm intrigued by how the magic's going to work. Essentially in this story we have the legacies who were created by the gods, and they were given the Fae to be their sources of their power, and it is an honor to be chosen by a legacy to be their source. But our main character does not want to be a source, but she is chosen regardless, and we're watching her her go through the transformation or like the bonding to become a source. And I'm very much intrigued, like very, very much intrigued, enjoying this quite a bit so far. This is one of my Patreon bookmarks, and I think it's gonna fit this book quite well, so we're gonna pick it. I have literally just been sitting here reading this book all day long. I finished my 2024 genre blanket. It's kind of a weird size. I did not do good this year because every other year I've done 2 rows per book, and this year I went down to 1 because I read too many the year before, but then I read less books this year than I have for a couple years, and I think I liked how many books I read this year, so I'm probably gonna stick around this year. But I made this one far too long for like the width of it, and so it looks a little funky, but whatever. It's fine still. I still like it. I like the color. I'm still vibing. So I am starting this year's blanket because this will be my 4th book of the year. I think this time I'm gonna do a full double back loop only. I was gonna try and do a much funkier, like unique stitch, but honestly I think keeping it simple is gonna work the best for me, and I think doing a back loop only does add some uniqueness, but I actually haven't done a full double. I've done a single and then a half double single mix, and then last year's was a full half double, and so this is going to be a full double stitch. So I hope that I like it. This is my fantasy color. It's going to be very purple this year. I have purple for fantasy romance, but I have just been devouring this. I've been listening to the audiobook. I'm on chapter 23, which is 300 pages in, so I'm about halfway. I think I could finish this today. Like, I'm addicted. Like, the vibes are seriously vibing for me on this one. I don't know what it is, but like I can't put this down. Like, I feel like I'm having such a good time with this, which is crazy because I did not like Lady of Darkness, but I'm really loving all the characters. I'm loving how everything is written. I'm loving the amount of plot to like character interactions we're getting. I'm intrigued by the magic system and what's going on, and the villain characters and what the overall like plot conspiracy is. I'm assuming we're gonna overthrow the father. There's a point in this where I was like, can this be a why choose? Because I'm loving every single man that walks into this. Yes, this is kind of dark. There is definitely like dubious consent. I wouldn't say that it's like a non-consensual consent, but it is a little dubious at times, but doesn't bother me. But if it bothers you, you might not enjoy this. But I don't think it's that dark. I was expecting it to be a lot darker than it has been. Maybe that'll change. I'm only halfway through. But so far, like, I'm eating this up. Like, I am so sad I slept on this for so long. I just did not like Lady of Darkness at all. I gave it 2 books and it just like did not work for me. But this one is really, really working. Like, from the very first chapter, I was addicted and I thought it would change, but it hasn't. Very, very much loving this. So I'm gonna continue. I'm going to get caught up on my genre blanket, and we're having chicken breakfast sandwiches for dinner. So I'm very excited for those. This was incredible, amazing, everything I didn't know I needed in life. This was such an easy 5-star to give out, which means back-to-back 5 stars. Who am I? Apparently I need to read booktuber favorites all the time. This had the most intricate world building. It felt so well fleshed out. It felt so immersive. I felt like I was really in this world, and it also felt so unique with like the legacies and them needing a source, and how the bond between the source and the legacy is made, and what that gives up. The discussions in this, the discussion of oneself, the discussion on like what you're being forced into, like what you're being coerced into, because she essentially is told that the bond will make her feel these things, and then she's second guessing her own emotions. Like, do I like this man, or does the bond like this man? And I felt like that was such a well done storyline and conversation to have in this. The characters had me raging at them. Like, I did love them. That probably says a lot about me because they aren't like nicest, healthiest characters. They had me raging at them for like what they were doing. They always felt like they were trying to do the right thing's wrong. They always felt like they were trying to protect each other, but sometimes they had to do wrong things to do that, or they took things too far. They always thought that they were doing what was best, even though sometimes that was definitely the wrong decision to make. And it left me really feeling for them because I understood where their motives were at the center of this. I understood that they were making the wrong decisions, but for the right reasons, that they were all trying their hardest. The last 100 pages of this had me sitting in my bed like this. I don't know what I look like right now, but I'm just sitting in the dark listening to this book. I have about 30 minutes left and I'm so stressed. Oh my god, what is going on? This is incredible. I ran out of chocolate chips. I was just eating them like popcorn as I listened to this. This is so good. What have I been missing out on? How am I expected to not read book 2 right after this? I need to tell you all that this man done goofed. He done goofed it big. big time. He done goofed. I was so stressy. I was just along for the ride. I literally listened to like an hour and just like pitch black, just like staring into the void and texting in my Discord because I do have a buddy read chat open for this. I can't wait to read the second book. I definitely thought this was going to end and have me binging the entire series. And yes, I do really want to continue, but I'm also very excited for our next book. So I'm like okay with waiting on it. However, if you haven't read this series, like I did not like Lady of Darkness. And everyone says you have to read Lady of Darkness first. You don't. I double checked with everything that the author has said, and you will understand and pick things up a lot faster in this series if you have read Lady of Darkness. There are Easter eggs within this, but this can be read first. It can be read on its own 100%, and I'm so happy that I ignored everyone who told me I had to read Lady of Darkness because I did not like Lady of Darkness, and I picked this one up and I fell in love with this. Something about this just clicked so quickly to me, and Lady of Darkness, I struggled through the first book and a half before I decided it wasn't for me. Maybe I will go back after I have fallen in love with this entire series, but this for me was top tier fantasy. I think it's going to be hard to top the first 2 5-stars I've had this year. They were both 6-star reads for me. This one for sure is a 6-star read. Like, this is incredible. This is for the world building girlies. This is for the girlies who want epic fantasy but make it romantasy, and this is incredible. Read this book. If you do nothing else in this world, read this book. I am hopeful that we can continue our 5-star high though with our next read, because I'm predicting a 5-star for our next read. Booktuber favorites is doing me good currently. The next one was on 5 booktuber favorites. We saw Zodiac Academy on Mariana Reads, Rainy Blue Reads, Larry, Jamie Johnson, and Emmy Rossum. Again, these channels I go to whenever I want solid reads. I will say it wasn't always the first book. A lot of times it was one of the later books in the series, but almost everyone when I listened to it had binge read this series, had loved the entire series, and just had to pick 1 or 2 to put on their favorite list. So I'm counting the first book for all of them, just because I do think that getting into this series, like the addictive high that this series gives, means that it's still a favorite for people. So I am going to read the first Zodiac Academy. I've actually read this before, kind of. I DNF'd it really early on in my channel when I was a epic, slow fantasy girly. I did not really like romantasy at this time. I had read A Court of Thorns and Roses and From Blood and Ash, and that was about it. But I was definitely into the more like slower reads, and I didn't really like romance at this time. Like literally in my bio it used to say, you'll catch me reading anything but romance, and now I'm like romance all the time. My life changed when I realized that like that was just something silly that I thought, that I didn't like romance because I love it. So happy that I grew up a little bit. So I DNF'd this at 100 pages in. Apparently I re-download KU and I DNF'd it 100 pages in. And I remember thinking the writing was absolutely horrendous. I remember just being like, this is not it. I restarted it this morning and I'm now 100 pages in. I think I'm back to the point. I think I DNF'd it about 20 pages before where I am now. I'm obsessed. The writing is not bad, especially after reading Dark Fae by these authors. This writing is 10 times better than Dark Fae, and I loved Dark Fae. This is engaging, it's entertaining. I am liking the world building. I do think that these authors are Nickelodeon girlies because this is Winx Club coded, as well as the main character's name being Tori Vega, which is also the main character in Victorious. There's also a Darcy in Victorious. Like, I think that they were Nickelodeon girlies. But so far, I'm really enjoying this. This follows our 2 main characters who are changelings. They were sent to the human world as babies. They grew up there, and on their 18th birthday, their magic calls out, and the Fae come and collect them. They tell them that they are the long-lost heirs to the kingdom. Their parents were the ruling kingdom, and there is money that they can get as long as they go to school at Zodiac Academy and graduate. And they are broke, and they are fending for their lives. They're stealing from people. They need this money, so they agree. They go to Zodiac Academy. They just want the money, and then they're gonna go back home to the human world. There are these 4 men heirs, I think there's 4 of them, who have been taught from childhood that they were going to become the heirs of the kingdom once they graduated school, and they don't want their power taken away by the rightful ruler heirs. So they are bullying the crap out of these 2 girls, trying to get them to leave because they don't want them to take the kingdom from them. The 2 girls are just like, just give me my money. Like, I don't want to rule. I'm having so much fun. It is definitely a bully romance. I'm definitely preferring Tori's POV at this point in time, and I also can't take Seth seriously. I'm just picturing him as Seth from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and every time he tries to be a mean, big old, mean, brooding, big boy guy, I just laugh because I'm picturing this scrawny little man. I like him, but you know, other than that, like, I'm having a really good time. I'm vibing. I'm flipping through the pages. I want to keep reading, and I am going to keep reading today. I'm hoping to get a big chunk of this done. Maybe I'll read in one sitting. I read this 600 page chunker in one day, so maybe I can read this one. It's not that bad. And I have the audiobook. It's not that bad. I'm too lazy to get up, so we're just gonna have a phone update in this one. I am loving this. I think I'm like 60% through. It says I have 2 hours and 41 minutes left in the audiobook, so I'm definitely going to finish this today, which is going to be a one sitting book again. What is in the water? Why am I loving all these reads? They're so good. This one is just really bingeable. I don't have much to say. Like, it's not a 6-star book, but like it's so easy to read, it's so consumable, and like I'm intrigued to know what's going on. I like the bully romance part too. I actually think that after you get past the first 100 pages, it really like falls into everything and it feels like less bully. I don't know, it is still bully romance, but you really get into the characters and you enjoy the characters and you see how they're gonna handle the situation, which I'm really excited to see how that all like plays out. So I'm definitely enjoying it so far. Yes, I'm in the exact same spot, but I wanted to say that it's like a lot of fun learning about all the different types of magic. Sorry, my coffee's sitting here. Because each type of fae, because like there are vampires and werewolves and stuff within this, but they're all fae and they have to get their power somehow. So they're called vampires because they drink blood to get power from others that like charges up their power, like charges their battery. Or the werewolves have to like transform and go out in the moonlight, and things like that. And every time we find a new like shapeshifter type, I like learning about how they charge their battery. So I believe we just learned about a dragon and how he charges his battery, which is by like coins. So that's been a lot of fun, I feel like, to learn. This is really bad lighting. I finished Zodiac Academy. I'm gonna tell you my final thoughts about it tomorrow. I do want to sit on them just a little bit because I've kind of been teetering between ratings, but I am just getting ready to play Don't Starve Together with some of my friends. We've been addicted to it. It's like the survival game, which I didn't think I was gonna be into, but it's so fun, and like trying to beat our previous record of how many days we've survived is so fun. And just like, I don't know, playing games with other people is really fun. If you picked up Cult of the Lamb back when I was obsessed with that, maybe try Don't Starve Together because it gives me similar vibes with like the graphics and stuff. But if I remember to record some, I'll record a little bit of B-roll of us playing tonight. I'm very excited. We've been addicted. It's been so much fun. We're becoming a food blogger, and these are my like go-to late night snack. You just stick them in the microwave for 3 minutes and they just like steam and they are delicious. Hello Miley, you going for a run? And this is what they become. They're just like a rice roll stuffed with like a sweeter meat, and there's like soy sauce drizzled on top. It's a perfect late night snack in my opinion. I'm giving Zodiac Academy 5 stars. I did sit on it for 2 days and I was in between a 4-star and a 5-star, but because of who I want to be this year as a reader, how I want to be a little bit less critical, less little analytical, I decided on a 5. I just think I will be thinking about this book for a very long time to come. I think that it could be on my favorites of the year just because of that, and I think that that really makes it a standout story for me. I do wish that we had a little bit more plot in this first book. However, it's a very long series, so I think this is very much a setup book. I enjoyed learning about our 2 main characters. I enjoyed learning their personalities and the different paths they were going to take compared to the other one. I really enjoyed learning about the world building, things like that. I do wish we had gotten to know the boys a little bit more. I wish that I was like gushing about the boys, but I don't think that was the purpose of this first story, so I also think that that's okay. Overall, I just had like a really fun time reading this. I read it in one day, like essentially one sitting. I sat down, put the audiobook in, and didn't stop it. So I think that also says so much about the story. So I'm really excited that I dived into this series. I'm really excited to continue. I know that the books just get better from here, that if I loved this one, I'm probably gonna love the entire series. So that is so freaking exciting to have a new favorite series possibly, which also is 3 5-stars in a row. Can we do it a 4th time? Booktuber Favorites is doing me a great thing. Now, our next read was only on 4 booktubers lists, but it was on Emmy Rosam's, Sarah Corelli, Alexa Ray, and Amy Claire. I think that those booktubers have my trust in them, so I'm very excited, and we will be reading Lightlark for that. I have started this book. I'm actually about 30% in, and when starting this, I realized I actually knew absolutely nothing about this book. I had no idea what it was about. All I knew was that everyone was hating on it, and then all of a sudden it was on everyone's best of the year list and people were loving it. So I am excited to continue reading it. Currently, my thoughts are sitting at about a 3.5. I am intrigued in the story. I like the concept and the world building. However, I also feel like I'm unsure of why the concept exists. It just feels a little bit murky in the reasoning. I feel like I can't fully get behind what exactly is happening because I don't fully understand the whole picture. Specifically our main character going to find this like device where I'm just like, don't you think that if this device existed so readily available, one of them would have used it? Even with the consequences of it, I do think someone would have used it to break their curse because the curses are so bad. But I've loved learning about all the curses. Essentially in this, we're following a world where all of these different, I'm gonna call them fae, I don't think that they're fae. These people with like magical abilities, all these different races were cursed. And in order to break their curse, every 100 years, there is a competition at Lightlark, which is the center of their like power. There's like a riddle they have to solve and they can break their curse if they solve this riddle. Part of it is that one of the 6 rulers has to be sacrificed. And so they go through these like games and these competitions, these trials to showcase their power, to figure out who's gonna be in charge, who's gonna be sacrificed, and to figure out how to break the curse. But we're on our 6th competition and the curse still isn't broken, and this time it is crucial that it's broken. And our main character is one of the rulers who has to break this curse, and she's looking for another way to break the curse because she doesn't think that they will break it in Lightlark or that she'll be the one to die in Lightlark. So I'm enjoying it. I feel like the writing is very, very repetitive. I wish that it was edited a little bit more, although sometimes it's been helpful when I'm like, wait, why are we doing this again? And then I get the answer because it's been repeated a couple times. Overall, I don't know, like I'm enjoying it. I'm not loving it. It's easy to read. I do actually like the writing style itself. I do think it's really pretty. There's some highlightable quotes in it, but it is repetitive and it feels a little bit long. And the trials aren't really trials. They're more like showcases of power at this point. They're not like what I think of when I think of a trial. It's more like showcase how your realm can help, showcase what your power is. Really kind of wish it was more like a competition thing because I just like enjoy those a little bit more. But I'm not mad at the book. Like I am liking it. I'm just not super, super invested at this moment in time. And that could be a character issue. I'm not like loving the characters. It reads a little bit younger than I personally think I tend to like, but we'll see. Really interested in Grimm. Grimm currently is like my favorite character. Okay, where I am currently in this book, I'm honestly kind of bored. I'm around the 50% mark, and when the like trials stopped, I definitely lost my motivation to keep going. I feel like there's a lot of logic issues in this one. Like, how do her bracelets and her chokers become knives and throwing stars? And also there's a scene where I'm like, wait, isn't she supposed to be human? And how did she survive that? She would have like bled out if she was human. And I'm just like not enjoying this as much as I wanted to. I'm definitely sitting at like a 3 currently, and I was really hoping for another 5, but I guess they can't all be wins, and this definitely reads younger than I typically enjoy. Not gonna lie, I keep reading this king guy like he's really old. Like he's been Gandalf in my brain, which is so weird when he's a romance interest for like a 16-year-old. But as the story has gone on, we are getting more personality from him, so he's reading less Gandalf-y. But I had to point that out because at the beginning I was like, man, this guy reads old, and he's like 400 years old. So like I was picturing Gandalf the Great. Ignore the fact that my hair is still wet. I did like just hop out of the shower and get ready, and so I haven't let it dry yet. But I wanted to update you guys on my thoughts on Lightlark because I really do want to start our next book. And I finished Lightlark early last night actually, which gave me time to watch TV and YouTube, which was really nice. We knew that they couldn't all be 5 stars. I ended up giving this one a 3.5. I actually did enjoy this in the end. I really did like the world building in this. The fact that we're following an island that only shows up every 100 years for a competition to happen to break the curses that are on all of these different types of magical races. I liked learning about all of the powers of these magical races. I liked learning about the history and the scheming and the politics between all of the realms and things like that. But I just like didn't find myself very drawn to the actual characters. I think that was my biggest struggle. There's a love triangle in this, and I didn't really care either way which way it went. I just feel like there wasn't enough page time with well-developed scenes of either character for me to really be invested in her choice and her love triangle. Like there was no chemistry really between either of them in my opinion. I liked both of them enough. I didn't care. Like I wasn't rooting for one over the other. One had a little bit more chemistry but was obsessed with her after like 3 pages, and like it makes sense, but like I still couldn't get myself invested because I didn't get to see their relationship grow, which is a big thing I complain about, and I really need to see a relationship come to be on paper. I need to understand why you love each other and the chemistry. It can't just be thrown in my face. And the other one, I thought we got to see a pretty good build up, but I still didn't care. I don't know. So I liked the plot in this, and I think that that's what kept me going throughout it all. I liked seeing what was going to happen, how the curses were going to be broken, what the twists at the end were going to be. And so I still enjoyed my time. I don't think I'll be continuing on in the series just because I feel like what I wanted out of the story was achieved in this first book. The like plot of the first book that I cared about is done, completed, and I went and looked into like book 2 and book 3, and I think that they're going to go in a direction that I don't really care about because I don't really care about the characters. I liked this, but honestly I think think it reads quite well as a standalone because we do see like hints at what the future problems are going to be, but I feel like what is set up in book 1 is accomplished in book 1 and is done. I did like the twists. I have to say, there were twists at the end of this book. There are twists throughout this book, and I feel like every twist I had a prediction for. I saw them somewhat coming, but I didn't see how they actually came to be. Like, the way they were fulfilled was still a twist to me, and I think that that is signs of really good storytelling. In my opinion, you should be able to see the signs. You should be able to be uneasy or unsure about someone. I feel like a well-plotted story has Easter eggs to what's going to happen, and I am someone who looks for those. Like, I am someone who likes to predict things happening in books. I predict correct a decent amount. I will toot my own horn on that. I'll never forget reading the 5th season and knowing the plot twist on the 2nd page. I think that a well-plotted book will show me what those twists are going to be, but I also don't want to be able to completely predict them. So the fact that I was close but not like dead on really, really worked for me. So like, I liked this one. I thought it was good. I just didn't love it. I didn't just obsess over it. I would recommend it. I think actually younger Cassie would obsess over this. Like, it definitely reads a little bit younger than I think I typically enjoy these days. Younger Cassie, I think, would have ate this up and would have been invested in this love triangle. Okay, I do have a little packaged on box before we talk about the next book. Oh my lord. I purchased Storm of Secret and Sorrows, which is the 2nd book that comes after Rain of Shadow and Endings, because I was obsessed with that book and I need to read book 2 ASAP. So I figured I needed a copy to go on my shelves. There's a 3rd book that I will also need to purchase, but I'm very excited to continue this. This was such a big win. I also did buy Phantasma, but I already unboxed it and I don't really know where it is right now because I loved that as well. If it's a 5-star, I need to own it. Our next read was actually kind of hard because I'm at a point where I actually get to pick a little bit. Since I had read all like the really big standouts this year, I'm at the point where things just have 3 people who read them and put them on their best of the year list. So I kind of get to pick and choose a little bit at this point, which is exciting for me. And I'm still trying to pick ones that I've heard a lot about that were well loved. And so the next one I'm picking is City of Gods and Monsters. I actually expected this to be on a lot more people's best of the year list than it is. I feel like I heard a lot more TikTokers talk about it than booktubers, so I think maybe that's why I expected it to be on more people's, but why it wasn't. This is mine and Mel's book club pick for the month for our Patreon book club that we run together. Let me tell you whose best of the year list this was on, because it was on 3 people's best of the year list. It was on Destiny Sidwell's. I actually think it might have been on our honorable mentions, but I was counting honorable mentions this year. Mariana Reads and Kenny and Velaris. Mariana and Kenny are both new to BookTube, but I followed them on Instagram and TikTok for a while. Really enjoy what they are putting out into the world, so you definitely should follow them. And then Destiny Sidwell is like an icon on here. Like, I feel like she is one of the ultimate book girlies on this platform, so I've been following her for a while. I actually don't really know a lot about this. I know that it's an urban setting. The male love interest in this is like the best book boyfriend of all times. I know that some people say it's kind of close to Crescent City. I actually haven't read Crescent City yet. Also, I should say that I don't know if the 1st book was actually on all of these people's. I think I counted if they talked about the 2nd or the 3rd, because like with Zodiac Academy, I just found people talked about this series in particular, not necessarily like one book, but they had to pick one book to put on their best of the year list. I'm just excited to learn about Darian Castle. He's the leader of the 7 Devils, the most feared Darkslaying circle in the city, and I've heard that he is incredible. And I always need a new top tier book boyfriend in my life. I will give you a better update once I've actually started reading on like what this is about and my feelings. I'm really hoping to like this one. The book club is going so-so. I think people are enjoying it, but not absolutely loving it. But I do wonder if this is going to be like a Spark of the Everflame type story where like the 1st book I liked but didn't love. Well, even saying I liked it is a little bit unsure. But the 2nd and 3rd books I was so obsessed with and were easily 5-6-star reads. Let's hope that I do love this one. I do have an audiobook copy of it, so I will dive into it today. This becomes this. And you have dinner. This is such a good little fast, quick meal already in your freezer. I just add like vegetables and stuff to mine and some meat. I've made it 116 pages into this. I'm having fun. I am having fun. I was a little bit worried at the start because the writing is wordy. It kind of reminds me of When the Moon Hatched. Not as wordy for sure, not as like florally, but this author likes her similes, she likes her metaphors, she likes her comparisons, she likes her big words, she likes to describe things in detail, and definitely that kind of bothers me. I don't love a wordy writing, but as I got used to it, I've definitely fallen into just like not minding it. Not my favorite writing style, but like I don't hate it, and that's always a good thing for me. Some of the comparisons in here definitely got me laughing. I'm just at this point having fun with the book. It kind of reminds me of Zodiac Academy actually, where it's just kind of like a vibe and you have to vibe with it, or if you don't vibe with it, you're not really gonna have the best time. Because like, for example, his car lurked like a bat lingering in the dark. Like, what does that even mean? Why is your car compared to a bat? So like that at first, I was like, okay, this is a little extra. Just a little bit extra. But I really just kind of have started to laugh at things like that and have like a really good time with it. And when we really got into our two characters meeting and their interactions, I've been really loving those together. I do love him, I can't lie. Like, he is a vibe. Think Sons of Anarchy, like the leader of a gang, looking like that, but he's like 24, which sounds kind of creepy because I'm 27. In my head, he's my age. He's hot. He's got like the tats up his arms. He's got like a little bit of a I don't give a fuck badass, nothing can threaten me, and he's gonna protect her vibe. And I love a story like that. I do think currently his motivations are a little see-through. Like, at this point, he's helping her because she's hot, and it kind of frustrated me because there was good motivation set up. Like, the author could have leaned into the fact that he wants to know what she is, that other people were offered the same deal as him, and he needs to like prove that he is the best, like, and like threaten them all kind of thing. So like, I feel like motivations for saving her could have been better done than just like she's hot and like he's curious about her. But it got me to a place where I've been enjoying their banter. I'm enjoying like the other devils as well. Essentially, we're following our main character, who is a human struggling to survive in like a city full of monsters and magical creatures and things like that. Her adopted sister is a witch, and their other best friend is also a witch. And one night when they're out past dark, which you're not supposed to do, there's like a curfew to keep monsters from killing people, there are bounty hunters that come and they try to take our main character, but instead they take her friend. And now there's a bunch of bounty hunters after our main character, and she's just trying to get her friend back, and she meets Darian Castle, who is like the biggest, baddest bounty hunter, and he for some reason agrees to help her get her friend back and not kill her. He's like very curious about her. He thinks she's hot. He wants to bang. And we're watching just that happen, and I'm very interested. I am very interested. I like the world building. I like the city setting. It feels different than a lot of things I've read. I definitely can see the Crescent City comparison because I actually have read the first 100 pages of Crescent City, and I do feel like some of the setup was similar, but I do think it's also found its own footing and its own uniqueness, and Crescent City wasn't the first urban setting like this, and that plays on a lot of tropes that a lot of urban settings play on. I am currently giggling at this. Like, I'm having a good time, and that's all I want in life currently. So I'm hoping to make a good dent in it tonight. Well, today. It's early. A little bad lighting update to say that I'm about halfway through. I'm on page 320, so I think I'm a little under halfway, and I'm still just really vibing with this. I still have the same complaints I had at the beginning about like the writing style, and I do feel like this could be edited down a little more than it is. However, I'm really just vibing with the characters. I'm having fun. I like their interactions together. There's something kind of endearing to me about them having cell phones and them like texting each other late at night and like trying to make the other one stay up and talk longer, because like we've been there. I feel like us Zillennials, I'm gonna call myself, because I'm a cusper of a millennial, Gen Z. Like, I understand the like staying up all night texting the person you liked and like trying not to admit you liked them, but like feeling like you didn't want them to go to bed yet, and what were you gonna say to keep the conversation going, and like deleting the message you just typed out to retype it out pretty much exactly the same to still not send that and send like the most simple message. And like that was so relatable to me, and I think it's so cute to see. Definitely a little insta-lovey, I definitely can say that, but I'm having a good time, and at my moment in my reading life, my reading journey, a good vibe is all I need. If the vibes are vibing, the reads are reading, and that's how I'm feeling about this one. What he does for her. I'm crying. Oh my god. I can't believe he does that. I can't believe he does that for her. Like, there's tears. This is the sweetest, nicest, saddest thing I've ever read. I love him. Darian Castle is that guy. Oh, fuck. A new 5-star bombshell has entered the villa. 5 stars. 5 freaking stars. Oh, God. Where do I start? Darian Castle is the love of my life. Sorry, Nick. Why does every time I start filming, things start making noises? That's my dishwasher, if you can hear it. We're gonna talk through it because I want to start my next book, but I need to talk to you about this one first. I don't know what to say, just that I love Darian Castle. I My mind is blank. My brain has gone empty and the only thoughts are Darien Castle. You know how there's some book boyfriends where you're like, I love you, but you're so toxic. I would never actually date you, but fictionally, you are my type. Fictionally, non-fictionally, this man is my type. This man is my man. Like, I love him. I love him so much. He is this softest, sweetest boy. Like, he's the softest, sweetest, but he's also snarky and he's overprotective. Oh, I love him. This is for the like mafia romance girlies. This is for the girlies who want a man to like protect and take care of them. This is that. This isn't fantasy romance. I feel like it is. Okay, like it is romancy. It is. But when you think romantasy, I think you think a specific thing. I think that this fits in paranormal romantic fantasy better. Like paranormal, it just fits more than romantasy, but it is romantasy. There is really cool world building in this. I do think so, but I don't think that it is the main shining point of this story. Like I did like the world building. I did like the mystery aspect that was happening within this. At the end of the day, the thing that carried me through this was the two characters, their relationship, the moments they had together. I ate every single moment up, whether it was a fighting moment or a soft moment or a smut moment. There's not a lot of smut in this book. Like it takes its time. It is very much leading to this final moment of them giving themselves to each other for the first time, and it's incredible. Oh god. This is not for everyone. I truly understand that this is not for everyone, but this is for me. This is for me. I think this is for the Zodiac Academy girls. If you like Zodiac Academy, try this. I think it gives me similar aspects of just like vibing and loving the characters, because yes, I think in both of them there is this really cool world building, really cool plot, but at the end of the day you're carried by the characters and the devastation the author can bring to you through those characters. Because I cried twice in this book. Twice. You only saw one, but I cried twice. I'm just ranting. I'm just rambling because I loved this so freaking much. I also want to say that this is one of the most well-plotted stories I have read in a long time. Does it pace that well? I had a great time with the pacing, but I can understand that the pacing was like a roller coaster up and down, and like it was fast. It was fast paced. It's a 700-page book, but I don't think we take a lot of time on anything but the two characters. Like things are happening quick, and I think a lot of people in our buddy read of it did say that they wanted things to be slowed down at times and like shown a little bit more. I understand how that could bother people. It didn't really bother me, but I do think it's so well plotted. The keys to the story are in here. Every single thing, when you know it, when you get to the reveals, you see it. You're like, that was right in front of my face, but I missed it. That was all right there. Every revelation was right there for me to see, for me to grab onto, and I didn't grab onto it. Some of them I did, some of them I didn't. Incredible, amazing. I cannot wait to read book 2. I'm doing Reader DNF after this video, and I'm like, can I rig it? But then also, like, can I rig it to read the sequel of every single book I read in this? Like, I loved every single book besides Lightlark. We can pretend I didn't read that one. I did like Lightlark, but it's like just not like an all-time favorite, but the rest are all 5 stars. Like, I'm thriving right now. Thriving. Okay, we are going to move on to my next book, and I am going to take a U-turn, take a wild left, take a gander down a dark alley. And we're gonna do something out of my comfort zone for this one. I forgot the book downstairs, so I'm gonna take you downstairs with me, and we are going to talk about what I'm reading next. Okay, so while I was watching booktuber favorites, I noticed time and time again a book coming up on everybody's list that wasn't romantasy. And I thought, if all the people I'm going to for romantasy, if all these people who also love the same books that I love are loving this book just as much, maybe I should try it. Maybe I should dabble in some contemporary romance. There were 2, to be honest. There were 2 that came up quite a bit. I chose the one that I already had some interest in reading. Since it is a little bit out of my comfort zone, I did pick and choose a little bit. And Wild Love showed up on 6 different favorite lists for me. Wild Eyes, which is the second book, also showed up on a few people's, but my 6 was only counting people who talked about this first book. This was mentioned by Claire's Neverland of Books, Freya, Jordan Elaine, Steph Boyer, Books and Heather, and Coffee and Tales. I also know that 2 of my friends, Melanor Reads and Books with Lexi, loved it. They just didn't put it on their favorites list. I'm ready to dive into Elsie Silver. I'm ready to try her. I know that this is a billionaire romance, and to be honest, I think that that's really gonna work for me. I think that I like the concept of like a man having money and taking care of you. I liked it in Rain of Shadow and Endings and City of Gods and Monsters, how he was taking care of her quite a bit, and they were more royalty, so they had more money. They were more elite. Like, I liked the gifts that that Darian Castle bought for her. I thought it was cute. I'm excited. I am going dog sitting, so I will be reading this there, and I'm hoping to get through it quite fast. I am going to start it. I do have the audiobook if I want. I'm going to start it tonight, and then I think I leave for dog sitting in about 3 hours, so we'll see how far I get. Before then, I'll show off the dog to you. Nico is very cute in my opinion. And yeah, I'm back here in the morning because our dryer is being replaced because it's broke. Well, our dryer is being repaired because it's broken. So the repairman's coming in the morning with a new part to fix it. He was here today and just like look to see what part he needed. But other than that, I'm just like vibing with a dog this weekend. My poor kitties are gonna miss me. Right, Theo? Come here. Oh, just look at him. Like, I know he's gonna miss me so much as he tries to get out of my arms. Okay, that's it for now. Hopefully I come back and it's another 5-star. Like, hopefully. I mean, I'm gonna come back before then, but hopefully I'm loving this. I can't believe how much I love City and Gods Monsters, honestly. Cannot believe it. Okay, my little cousin. Oh, it looks kind of dirty, but she has a saltwater tank. Look at that guy. Can you see him? There's a little fishy. A little Nemo over here. This guy is like a little shrimpy guy, I think. I like him. He looks so creepy. It's nighttime, so I think some of the other ones are sleeping. Or dead. Oh, I can see it peeping out. There's a fishy. Fishy in the back there. Oh my god. Hello. Hello. I'm not gonna lie, seeing my province and city in a book, it's so weird. It's so weird. I am just getting ready for bed, actually. They have a California King, so it's gonna feel so big for just me. I mean, I do have little Nico who will sleep with me too, but honestly, she'll probably get off the bed because she gets really hot and she typically wants to sleep on the floor. Like, as a puppy, she would always go find the toilet and put her head against it because it was cold. So weird, but like also kind of cute to think about. Like, she gets so hot. She likes to sleep on like AC vents and things like that, so she probably won't sleep with me most of the night. But yeah, it's gonna feel really weird to have a whole bed to myself, specifically too because like I sleep with 2 cats on either side of me these days. Like, Theo sleeps on my left side and Miley sleeps on my right side, and they take up a lot more room than you think they would because they're just cats, but they can stretch out when they want to. At nighttime they seem to want to. Well, I am reading Wild Love and I'm about 100 pages into it. I'm not sure how I'm feeling about this one. I'm not hating it, but I'm not like absolutely obsessed. But I do know a couple of my friends, both Mel and Tori, it took them a little bit to get into this one, so I'm hoping that I will get there. And also, I haven't read much contemporary. Actually, I haven't read contemporary in years. Back when I did, I would say my favorite contemporary, if not including dark romance, because I did love There Are No Saints, but not including dark romance, was What Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey, and I still only gave that a 3-star. This is feeling higher than a 3 currently, but not like a new favorite. Personally, doesn't have tropes that I love. It actually, some of my least favorite tropes. Don't really like a kid, and I'm not a big fan of like friends to lovers or like childhood friends to lovers. I prefer to see their romance on paper happen, and I don't really like when I don't get to see like the history behind their relationship. That's like a personal preference, which is why enemies to lovers or like reluctant allies tends to work for me so well. It doesn't have like my favorite tropes, and he's not a billionaire in like the way that I would want him to be. I don't know. Like, he's not working for me, I think, is the problem. I actually really like our female main character, but like typically for me to like fall in love, I have to like really love the man, and like he's kind of whiny. I don't know. I don't love him at this moment in time, and he's like obsessed with her, and it's like, dude, we're only 50 pages in. Like, why are you obsessed with her? You know, like that's truly the vibe I feel. But I get it because they have history, but like I didn't see it, so I don't know. I'm hoping I will like fall in love with this as I keep going because I do see the potential, and I see the potential in Elsie Silver's writing. So I definitely, even if I don't love this, will try more from the author and try and find my contemporary romance era. Just look at her. Hi, Nico. Oh, that tail. Look at that tail. Yeah, Nico. Hello. Oh, you want a belly rub? Oh, yes. Oh, she's so freaking cute. She's like, why'd you stop? Why'd you stop?
I'll pet you again. I just gotta put the camera down.
Good morning. I am about halfway into this book. I did order myself some McDonald's this morning because I had some car issues. I was supposed to go back to my house to deal with the repairman, and I had to call my parents because my car was literally like smoking. Like, it smells like someone burnt popcorn in my car. I've had some car issues for like the last 1.5 to 2 years. I have an old car. It's like a little beater. So it's kind of normal for it to like have issues, but obviously that's such a scary issue for you to feel like your car could be like set on fire. Like, it smelled like something was burning. So I quickly turned it off and called my parents and was like, we have a problem. I cannot drive my car. And we just like figured it out. My dad could go. It was just like a little bit harder for them. So our dryer is repaired now. So that's good. But I did not go home, which also means I didn't bring a lot of things with me. I didn't bring my makeup with me. I didn't bring that much clothes with me. So I'm wearing the same pants I wore yesterday because technically I'm wearing my pajama pants. I knew I was going home. So I didn't really think about packing up like a big bag. I was just gonna pack one night, bring it back, change up my clothes, and pack a new night. And so that was chaotic, but everything is good. My boyfriend has come to look at my car. We're looking at it to figure out exactly what it is. Nick thinks that it's fine, that we can fix it. I personally think I might need a new car, which I should probably start saving for anyways because my car's having so many issues. But I have been listening to the audiobook of this. I also just realized I closed my laptop while on sprints, and so they're all gonna be like, what the fuck, because I probably like automatically left or my camera shut off. Well, that's great. Smart, Cassidy. I'm not loving this. I'm about just over halfway, pretty much halfway. I like it, okay? Like, I like it, and I'm willing to try more contemporary romance, especially because it's so easy and simple for my brain. Like, I think that this could be a really good, like, brain break between some of, like, the epic fantasy that make me, like, overstimulated sometimes because I just can't stop thinking about them. However, I think it's lacking in plot, which, like, it's a romance book, so, like, maybe it doesn't need plot for a lot of people, but, like, It Happened One Summer is, like, my favorite that I've also read, had a plot of, like, this fishing town and, like, starting the bar and then, like, him going fishing and, like, the scariness of that, and like there was like an overall still things that were about not just their relationship. And I think the plot is supposed to be like this child in this, but they all connect very quickly, and I don't feel like they're necessarily having a troublesome time with this child. Actually, the child could be my favorite part. I do actually like the relationship with this 12-year-old girl that all of the other characters have, but for the most part it's just our two characters being like, you're hot, I thought you hated me, but you're hot, but my brother, but my best friend, but you're hot. I need a little bit more than that. I also just like don't love him. Like the brother West, I think I could really love, and he is the second book POV main character, I think, and I really like his like style of character more. Ford is the perfect man, and that is gonna work for a lot of people, but like for me, I'm like, where are your flaws? Where are the issues? You're rich, you're kind, you take in strangers, you say all the right things, you're such a gentleman. Where are the flaws an actual human man would have? Like, where are the flaws? I don't see any, and I think a lot of people read for escapism, and that's something they're looking for, but I need him to feel a little bit more real, in my opinion, than this. So like, I'm liking this. I'm not loving it. I like the writing style. I will try more for sure by Elsie Silver. Like, I think I would try the next book to see if I like just a different man more, because I do like the female, and we see Ford's sister, who is from Chestnut Springs, so I believe that we see her romance in the cowboy one, and I think that I would be intrigued by that because I did like Ford's sister. I like all the women, actually. They do kind of read the same, but I've liked them all so far. So I'm intrigued. I think that this just has tropes that I don't love, and so I don't think it can get more than a 3-star for me. But I think this same style of story with tropes that I do like would work. Like, I avoid friends to lovers. I avoid like childhood people to lovers in fantasy romance, so I probably should also avoid it in contemporary romance. I'm really here for the good banter and the enemies to lover vibes, and just like the tension that brings. This is a little too soft, in my opinion, for my personal taste, but I get why other people would like it, and I like the writing, so I will finish this today pretty quickly. I don't know what I'm gonna order for dinner tonight because I'm still house sitting, so I'm gonna Uber Eats my food. Yeah, I'm gonna go back to reading. I think I was harsh on this book on sprints. I was on Patreon sprints, and I think everyone's gonna be surprised by my rating just because of what I was saying, and I am deciding to give this book 3 stars. I liked it. Like, I can't say I didn't like it. I read it pretty much in one sitting. I always was turning the pages. There's just things about this book that I also disliked, and I wanted to be head over heels obsessed with it the way I saw so many other people be, that I was like disappointed that I wasn't. But I really liked the writing style and I liked the concept, and I definitely want to try more. Like, it got me intrigued enough that I'm excited to try more from Elsie Silver. I'm excited to try more contemporary romance, which was the point of trying this one. Typical tropes that don't work for me, like kids in books, not really my favorite. I think that the billionaire part didn't really feel like, he didn't really feel like a billionaire. And like childhood friends to lovers doesn't really work for me. I just feel like I was missing out on so much development of their relationship because it happened when they were teenagers and they grew up together. So like that was just a really big struggle for me. But overall I enjoyed this book. I think Cora was the highlight. Even though I said I don't like kids typically, Cora was my favorite character. I thought she had really good personality and I really liked her dynamic with all the other characters. Sorry, the lighting is horrendous in here.
What if I...
Oh, that's a little bit better. Not a lot better, but a little bit better. I did enjoy this and I am intrigued, and I know that the next book in this series covers West, and I personally enjoyed West's character a lot more. I found Ford to be kind of boring. He was too perfect. I like that West kind of has like a bad boy background to him, like got into a lot of trouble. I'm most definitely intrigued about his book. I'm also intrigued to try Chestnut Springs. I also think her new series that comes after this is going to be set up in this. There was something about another city that they visit to where like sport professionals go, and I was like, sport romance by Elsie Silver? Like hockey romance. It makes sense. We're in Alberta. Hockey is our sport. So yeah, I definitely, I liked it. I just didn't love it, but it is a icebreaker for me into contemporary romance, and I'm excited to dabble in that more. I used to dabble in it a little bit when I started, but then I really went heavy into fantasy and then romantasy, and so I'm happy to kind of circle back around and try some more because I really didn't try enough, I don't think. So yeah, I will be continuing for sure. I will definitely be getting the next book to try. Like I'm set on that. Like I want to try more. I liked the writing style enough. That is the end of this vlog. I had one of the most successful vlogs I think I've ever had on my channel. I didn't dislike a single book, and I found a bunch of new favorites. Like how many favorites did I find? Phantasma, Rain, Shadow, and Endings, City of Gods and Monsters, and Zodiac Academy were all 5 stars. 4 5 stars in one video is unheard of for me. So I'm very, very excited. So thank you to all the booktubers who were talking about these books. I'm putting my stamp of approval on them. If you have not read them, you should read them. Well, if you think you're gonna like them. If you don't think you're gonna like them, avoid them. But I definitely had a great vlog and might need to think about doing this again next year. Normally I switch up my plans every single year, but this was so successful that I'm like, should I do it again? If you made it all the way to the end of this video and you'd like to leave me an emoji just to say you were here, leave me a mountain emoji for the good old mountains. I'll leave a video on the screen for you to go check out if you're interested in watching more from me, and have yourselves an absolutely remarkable day.